All right, here we go. It is the 26th of April, 2024. It's Flyers Daily with Jason Myrtetus, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. I feel like there's a lot to talk about today. Got some really interesting emails that I wanted to discuss. Flyers exit day interviews continue with Cam Atkinson. Boy, let's say some things about Cam Atkinson in this past season before we get to our exit day interview with Cam. He got off to a really good start this past season. And he missed the entirety of the season prior, like Sean Couturier, and came back. He had the neck issue, obviously, and there was some frustration in trying to figure out exactly what was wrong. And Cam Atkinson came back this season, and in the first 15 games, I was shocked where Cam Atkinson was. I was shocked where Couturier was out of the gate as well. But in the first 15 games, Cam Atkinson had 8 goals and 4 assists for 12 points, and he was playing 17 minutes and 46 seconds of ice time. Best start of his career, if you can believe it. Almost a point per game player. But along the way, I think the adrenaline maybe wore off for Cam Atkinson, and it ended up being a very disappointing season, and one where he saw himself in the press box as a healthy scratch on a number of occasions. He played 70 games, all said and done. 12 points in the first 15 games. The rest of the season in 55 games, only 16 points. 5 goals, 11 assists, 16 points. He was a minus 17. His ice time decreased a bit to 15:27. And Cam Atkinson just never felt like he got his legs back under him. He had the drought, I think it was a 17 or 18 game goal drought, and then he kind of popped out of it and played really well for a small stretch of games. I won't call it a long stretch of games. But when he popped out of it, all of a sudden, he started to show some promise again. It was after the new year. The first of the games where he ended the goal drought was against Winnipeg. That was that 2-0 win. Cam Atkinson had 2 goals in the game. And he looked like Cam Atkinson again. And he had that stretch with the 6 games, and he had 10 points, 5 goals and 5 assists. So when you look at the first 15 games, he had 12 points. And those 6 games, that's a total of 21 games. He had 25 points. But the rest of the way, Cam just didn't look like himself. Now, Cam missed an entire season and came back at the age of 34. It's very difficult to do at that age. And here's the numbers on his year in total. 70 games played, 13 goals, 15 assists, 28 points. It was a minus 22, and he played 15:57 of ice time. He only had 4 power play assists this season and 2 power play goals. And Cam Atkinson's a guy that has gotten some decent power play production in the past. And, is he a player in decline? Well, clearly. He's 34, about to be 35 on June 5th. He is a guy that's missed a lot of time, and what the future holds for Cam Atkinson, I think, is really uncertain. If you listen to his media availability on exit day, he said, "I have a lot of juice left in the tank for the right situation." Bill and I talked about that. That's one of those phrases that kind of caught me. Ooh, right situation? Doesn't sound like this is the right situation. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He signed the 7-year deal, now entering the final year of that deal, and he's got a cap hit of $5.875 million. So what do the Flyers do? Okay, one of the things you could do is buy him out. I don't think that's a great idea because I don't want to stretch out cap hit beyond the one season that's left. Is there the ability to trade him? I think he's tradable in the sense that you'd have to eat half of the money and you have to find the right situation. I look at a team like Buffalo that needs leadership. I look at a team like Ottawa that's got young talent and needs leadership. Because Cam Atkinson has that. That will never go away. That part of Cam Atkinson, his character, will never decline. He is a stand-up guy. He's a great guy. Is his game where it used to be? No, I don't think so. And I don't think it ever will be. Father Time is undefeated. And Cam missed an entire year at the age of 33. So that part is tough. But there's all the respect in the world for Cam Atkinson. I had a chance to sit down with him on Flyers exit day, and here's our conversation, rather candid. It's Flyers exit day. We're with Flyers forward Cam Atkinson. Cam, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm still trying to process, as I'm sure you are as well. How things just end kind of at the snap of a finger. What is kind of your snapshot of where you are emotionally right now?
A lot of mixed emotions. I mean, it's a tough way to end it last night, but at the same time, I thought the team showed a lot of grit and stuck together throughout this whole process from start to finish. And a lot of people have doubted us from day one, and to play in all those meaningful games all the way to the end. That says something, because I've been around long enough where I've been out of playoffs by Christmas time, and those games going to the end of the season aren't fun to play. So to play meaningful games all the way to 82, I think that's a big step for us.
Can that thought of having it end on the last game of the year provide a different kind of mindset going forward for young players in particular?
I just think that every game matters. So
Yeah.
and it just shows. I mean, it came right down to the wire, the last game, and
Easing your way out of a season and having it end like that are much different.
yeah, it's yeah, like I said, it's those games were all important. So you can't take a shift off, a game off, because it's the difference between 1 or 2 points that made the biggest difference.
Kim, you're a guy that I'm going to ask this question to. A lot of guys, because I respect the way you carry yourself. Obviously, there was healthy scratches this year. Where are you physically, and how have you kind of processed that and dealt with that?
Yeah, it's an interesting year. Other than not playing all last year, this is definitely up there. I was happy to play. I felt great at the beginning of the season, halfway through, and it's being a healthy scratch is not fun. I think my role kind of changed a little bit, which it is what it is. It's unfortunate, and I have one more year on my contract, and I still feel like I have a lot left to give and to play, and I want to continue to play, and I know I can be that player that I was once, and just train hard and get back to that.
Is it back to controlling what you can control?
Exactly. I mean, it's at the end of the day, that's all you can do.
See, my read is for you, it's very difficult because you want to be out there with teammates. You're such a team guy, and it's hard to lead if you're not out there with the guys. Is that part of the pain that comes for you?
I mean, yeah, you said it there, right?
Yeah.
When you can help and contribute, when that's what I've done my whole career, it's tough, but I think a lot of guys stepped up and played well.
Yeah. This offseason, you go into, no secret, you're 35. How's things changed? Do you approach the offseason any differently? Obviously, it's going to be different than last year. You didn't play the year prior. But how do things change this offseason?
Just train hard. I take a lot of pride in how I train in the offseason, and kind of know what to expect now coming into training camp and start of the season, and kind of the lows and the ups and downs, and just train as hard as I can and be ready to rock and roll.
What do you do to kind of separate now from the season? Because it's important for you guys to go, okay, I can't mourn this thing for 6 weeks. You got to move past it, and you have to have that period of time to refresh your mind, soul, and body, and all of those things. What are you going to do?
Yeah, hit the reset
Family?
button.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Family. That's all that matters at the end of the day for me. Hang with my kids and my wife, and hit the reset. And when it's time to start training, train as hard as I can.
Kim, enjoy the summer as best you can. Look forward to seeing you in the fall. Thanks for doing this as always. Thanks for being a stand-up guy like you always are. And you never say no, man. Appreciate it.
No.
Have a great summer.
Thanks for having me.
There he is, Flyers forward Cam Atkinson. And he's a guy that, you can ask anything to, and he'll give you an honest answer. I've loved covering Cam Atkinson. We'll see what the future is for Cam Atkinson next year, but we'll see where that goes this offseason. But I went back and listened to that interview. I tape all the interviews for Exit Day in one day. I literally taped 21 interviews in one day. I don't remember what I asked anybody by the time it's over. I'm dizzy. So when I'm going to feature one on Flyers Daily, I'll go back and rewatch it to refresh myself. And he says at a point in there too that he's going to control what he can control and come back and be ready to play next year and contribute. Again, I'll paraphrase, but in the right situation. Is that as a member of the Philadelphia Flyers? If I'm reading body language and some of the key phrases that he said in his Exit Day interview with me and to the media, I'd say it looks like he may be a guy that's going to be moving on, but we'll see where that goes. He was a big part of the reason why John Tortorella ended up here in Philadelphia as a coach. Gave him a ringing endorsement. He doesn't like that he was benched this year. He didn't like the fact that Torts put him in the press box, but I'm sure he respects it. All right, let's get to a couple emails quick here. Jeff sends this email in, Jeff Natali, and he says, "Hi, Jason. After watching the playoffs this past week, this beloved Flyers fan felt the cold chill of reality. The Flyers are much further away from being a true cup contender than I originally thought." I was waiting for your email, Jeff. I get many of these in the first week of the playoffs every year. I'll explain why in a second. He said the Flyers played to their maximum potential and simply weren't good enough. It was as if they were giving playoff effort every night during the season, while the more talented teams exerted less effort so they could ramp it up in the postseason. And if the Flyers would have made the playoffs, they would have had a tough time of it physically, let alone on skill. The playoff experience would have been great for all of us. Now, I will say right out of the gate, Jeff, you're falling for the old trick. Every year you watch the playoffs, and if your team is not in it, you say they are light years away until they're in it. The Flyers didn't exert playoff-like effort every night, and the other team exerted less. That's just regular season hockey versus playoff hockey. You see it every year. And you watch the playoffs, and it's like a different sport. It goes to a whole different level. And the Flyers would have gone to a different level. They wouldn't have been as good as Carolina. They wouldn't have been as good as the Rangers, no doubt about it. And they probably would have got cleaned in the first round in pretty rough fashion because they're not there yet. But don't fall for the old trick of going, I see playoff hockey and my team looks so much different because I'm comparing playoff hockey to regular season hockey. You can't compare them side by side. It's not even comparing apples to oranges. It's like comparing apples to tennis rackets. You can't do it. But he goes on to say, Jeff, he says, for kicks, if you added Bernie Parent to the team, are they contenders? You mean a dominant goaltender. I mean, Bernie didn't really play the type of goaltending that exists now, but a dominant Hall of Fame goaltender, are they a contender? Probably not. He said, if you also add Lindros, he said, still not enough. I go, BS on that. If you add Lindros, a huge physical, I think he was a generational player, to this team, yeah, they're absolutely a playoff team. Are they going to win the cup? There's a lot that's got to go right to win the cup. He said you probably need to add Pronger, too. That's 3 Hall of Fame pieces to be a true contender. Well, I don't know about that. Did the St. Louis Blues win the cup with 3 Hall of Fame pieces? I don't think so. Are the Vegas Golden Knights, did they win it with 3 Hall of Fame pieces? Look, Marc-Andre Fleury's not even there anymore. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, no, you don't need Hall of Fame pieces. You need to build a good team in total. Now, when you look at Tampa Bay, you go, okay, Stamkos, Hall of Famer. Hebben, going to be a Hall of Famer. Vasilevsky, going to be a Hall of Famer. Braden Point, we'll see. You got a lot of work to do. Kucherov could be a Hall of Famer. No doubt. But it's not some kind of prerequisite. I don't think you can measure it like that. He said also, back to the current Flyers, I like Ersson. At his best, he's practically as good as anyone, so the ceiling is high. He said, I never felt that way with Hart. Fedotov here deserves a shot. Again, upside. And again, I can't disagree with some elements of your email more passionately, Jeff. I never felt that way with Hart. You didn't think he had a high ceiling? I think this is revisionist history. Carter Hart had elite skills and a ceiling as high as everybody in the league. He was a clone of Carey Price. How could you never feel that he had a super high ceiling? My ceiling on Hart, take all the stuff, all the Team Canada stuff and put it aside. His ceiling is, to me, even to this day, is 1,000 times higher than Sam Ersson's. And I like Sam. To me, Sam isn't a super high ceiling guy, but he had a decent ceiling this year and a really low basement. He's got to bring the basement up, turn this thing into a ranch house, maybe raise the ceiling a little bit, create a little more headroom, but you got to bring the basement up. That's what you need in a goalie. You can't have a deep basement for a goalie. Now, Hart, early in his career, had a deep basement. That basement came up and up and up. But his ceiling was as high as Connor Hellebuck, was as high as Jake Ottinger, if not higher. So this is this revisionist history. People love to just crap on the other guy. I don't like everything that happened with Hart off the ice. But when I evaluate the goaltender, I totally disagree with you. And he also says, I hope they extend Konechny at a reasonable price. At most, he needs to be the second best offensive player on the team. They need a superstar or two via draft or trade. York, Sanheim, Tippett, Forster, Paling, and probably Drysdale are keepers. But the key is getting a superstar, as that could enable a good player to reach his peak. Totally agree with that. He said, I don't see anything special in all the smallish wingers and centermen on this team now. Konechny can't be your best offensive player. I agree with that too. Mishkov, who he goes on to mention, to me has superstar, not star, not all-star, superstar offensive potential. So that would be a piece that adds it. And then you see how the effect of adding one of those superstar offensive pieces, how that affects other guys. Because all of a sudden you see a guy that scores 55 points in a year. Now he plays on a line with Matvei Michkov. And now all of a sudden he goes from 55 points to 80 points. That can be the effect of a guy like that. He opens up so much for everybody else. Like Mishkov, like if he was coming here this year, I would love to see Mishkov on a line with Morgan Frost and, God, would I love like Brady Tkachuk on the other side. Big guy. Protection, and will just take up space. A creative playmaker in Frost, and an unbelievable offensive dynamo in Mishkov. Like, that's a dream line for me. But thanks for your email, Jeff. Even though I disagree pretty stringently with a lot of the things that you had to say, still good stuff, and I appreciate the email. You can always send me an email at jason.myrtetus, Myrtetus, @gmail.com. Game 2 tonight in Lehigh Valley as the Phantoms look to wrap things up with the Penguins. They've got the win in Game 1, and they'll be at the PPL Center tonight, and I will be there as well. I want to thank Ian LePerriere for hooking me up with a pair of tickets. Me and my wife are going up. We'll be in section 115. We'll be in the barn tonight, and we'll be rooting on the Phantoms for a win. So great stuff. I'm looking forward to the game tonight. So if you get a chance to check in on it, definitely do so. Some Flyers that we saw this year playing with the Phantoms, and some Flyers of the future there as well. I'm really looking forward to getting eyes on a lot of those guys. Like Emil Andre is a guy I really want to get my eyes on as well. So everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll be back Monday with Bill Meltzer, and Flyers Exit Day interviews will continue next week as well. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next week on a brand new Flyers Daily.